Well, obviously, this is not the case because many times in the past, there were many types of humanitarian crises in many places. Do you think Mosul didn't look like Gaza after the Americans' airstrikes? Do you think Tokyo, after American airstrikes, didn't look worse than Gaza? So over 100,000 Japanese got killed in the Second World War under American airstrikes. And the reason it was because the Japanese involvement in Pearl Harbor. So we need to remember who started this war. Hamas started this war, and this is not in our duty, by the way, in no way, not to protect our people. This is actually our duty to make sure Israeli children will be protected in the future, and no one in the international community, including our allies, the Americans, the British, the Germans, no one is thinking there is other way besides making sure Hamas infrastructure won't exist. The military machine must be destroyed. And you need to remember that. Hamas brought it on his own people. 16 years of Hamas regime since 2005. No Israeli control over the Gaza Strip. And they brought just poverty and bloodshed over the Palestinian people.
So let's watch another Piers Morgan interview, this time with the Israel's ambassador to the United Kingdom. And let's see how this lady here lie all the way from the beginning to the ending. She lies like all the way. And Piers did not even bother to push back on some of these lies that she was echoing. And sometimes, let me be frank, I understand what is actually going on. I understand that she is from Israel. She is representing the Israeli authority, and she has a responsibility to cover for them. That I totally get it. But sometimes you will tell a lie that people can clearly see through it. Like people clearly understand that what you are saying is utter and complete lie. And she just kept on saying it anyway. Like, I know I am lying, but what will you guys do? Nothing. So, let's watch.
But look, as you know, I support Israel's right to defend itself. I think Hamas, by what it did on October the 7th, showed that it has to be removed. And they live amongst a civilian population. It's an incredibly difficult war to prosecute if you're Israel. I accept all of those things. But the stark facts are that over 15,000 people have now been killed in Gaza already in just over 2 months, of which 4,000 to 5,000 are believed to be children. You cannot look at these scenes in Gaza and not feel the same way that we all do. That this is an extraordinary slaughter of innocent people as you go after terrorists.
Piers, I totally doesn't accept what you're describing at the moment, because think about how much efforts Israel is doing to make sure the Palestinians will get to designated areas in the southwest area of Gaza in order to have safer places, shelters, humanitarian aid, all these things Israel is doing, something that not in the past other countries did for enemy population. Now, we are dealing with a terror organization that, as a strategy, use the people and the children and the women as human shields. So they're basing all the bases, all their military bases, inside hospitals. They're basing it into UNRWA schools. They're basing it into mosques. And as you know, now we are in Khan Yunis. Khan Yunis is the city that Yahya Sinwar, this archaic terrorist, that planned in this calculated way this devil plan of October 7th. So we now must finish the job of making sure Hamas won't control the Gaza Strip. There is no other way if you want a better future for Palestinian children as well as Israeli children.
You know, there's one thing that whenever I hear Israelis people talk, I mean their authorities, right? They kind of make this moral comparison that they are doing far more better than any other country has ever done. That they are being far more linear as to how they attack Gaza than any other army has ever done. And whatever approach they have taken so far has been far more considerate than any other army have done before. And they have done this like a lot, doing this kind of like moral comparison. The fact that America invaded Iraq and Afghanistan and killed millions of people doesn't necessarily mean that Israel has to invade Gaza and kill millions of people. That's not how things work. The fact that Mr. A does something in a very gruesome manner with little or no regards for human lives doesn't mean that Mr. B has the right to go in and just indiscriminately kill people. That's not how things work. That's not how they work. Any crisis, any war is subjective. Things must be put into consideration. Things must be considered separately. You cannot just say because A did this and got away with it, so B has to do it the same way. Or if people are saying that the way Mr. B is doing this thing is not appropriate, then Mr. B will be like, but Mr. A did it more gruesome than I am doing it. Why is no one talking about Mr. A? Why is everyone talking about Mr. Bill? That's not how things work. You cannot just say that. You cannot just say that. And I remember Piers asked her a straightforward question. You have killed 15, 16 plus or minus thousand people in Gaza. About 6,000 to 7,000 of them, give or take, are children. How can you really say that you are taking the lives of the Palestinians into consideration where a huge number of them have been killed so far? What do you have to say for yourself? Then she went all defensive. That we are doing our best, that we have done way more better than any one of you have ever done before. And that we are only doing this because we must survive. If we don't do this, our existence is on the line. So we have to do this because it is the only way we can survive. There is nothing more we can do. She went all defensive and didn't even bother to answer the question. She just dodged the whole thing. That's what she does. She just dodged everything. And then Piers just let it slide. And then, you understand one irony about this thing, or one funny thing about this, is like Piers always need to categorically spell it out how in favor he is with Israel and their policies and their very existence. Piers always has to spell it out so that people don't get confused, so that people don't get the wrong signals, right? People understand his position and where he stands. I wonder why he felt the need to always do this. I wonder why. And you understand that Piers doesn't push back on the Israeli authorities or supporters of Israel like he does supporters of Palestine, right? He doesn't push back on supporters of Israel. He just let them talk. He barely interrupts them. He let them talk and talk and talk and talk. He doesn't push back. So I urge you guys to go and watch this interview. It's very interesting. Just go to Piers Morgan Uncensored and you can watch it there. You can watch the full-length interview there. I think Piers have done a fantastic job on platforming people from both sides of this conflict. And even though sometimes he has fallen short of my expectations, but I believe he is a human and the platform is not owned by him. So I think there are some certain rules in place. It's not like my podcast where I can say whatever I want, right? But he is on a very huge platform, and there are certain rules and regulations um, with regards to what he is doing. And I think he is trying his best not to break those rules because there will be consequences for it. But before we go, let me just say this. And I have said it many, many times before, but I will keep on saying it because for some reason I think that it's necessary for me to keep on saying this. I think that Israel's approach to this conflict in Gaza hasn't been a great one, hasn't been good for that matter. And I think that many Palestinians have died. But I will honestly challenge you that just a handful of Hamas terrorists might have been killed. And I would suggest that Israel reevaluate their whole approach all over again. That this onslaught they are going about in Gaza is not doing them any favor. It's not making people come to their side, rather pushing people away from them. And if they've not realized this by now, I think they should listen to public opinion. It's very important. But you guys out there, what is your take on what the Israeli ambassador to the United Kingdom said on this interview? Do you think that Piers really needs to always reaffirm his position on this whole crisis? Do you think that it's really that necessary for Piers to let everyone know time and time and time again where he stands on this whole Israel-Palestine issue? Share that thought with us in the comment section below because like always, we love hearing what you have to say. Please do not forget to like this video. Subscribe to the channel because that helps us a lot and we shall forever be grateful to you. We are really trying our best to build this platform and we believe that your support to the platform is like so needed. Thank you for doing just that. See you in the next one.